Right now, as you consider the task you've been avoiding, that brutal workout, that dense spreadsheet, that difficult conversation, a literal chemical war is erupting inside your skull. You feel that resistance, that visceral, stomach churning. That's not a character flaw. It's not a lack of motivation. It is a primitive survival mechanism that has accidentally become your psychological prison. We have been sold a fairy tale about willpower. We're told it's a finite battery that drains throughout the day, leaving us helpless by 7 p.m. But the cutting edge of neuroscience suggests something far more provocative. Willpower isn't a battery, it's a physical structure. Specifically, it's a hub in your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, or the aMCC. Think of this as the grumpy drill sergeant of your mind. In most people, this sergeant is retired, overweight, and sleeping on the job. But in the elite, the obsessed, and the resilient, this sergeant is a titan. To understand why you struggle, we have to look back 50,000 years. Imagine our ancestor Kale. He is shivering in a cave during a brutal volcanic winter. His stomach is a screaming void. Outside, the world is a landscape of lethal predators and jagged ice. Kale's brain is governed by a deeper, older section called the basal ganglia. In our story, this is the stingy accountant. The accountant's only job is to ensure Kale doesn't go bankrupt on energy. Every movement Kale makes is a withdrawal from his metabolic bank account. To the accountant, venturing into the cold to hunt is a high-risk investment with a low probability of return. The accountant screams, "Stay in the cave! Conserve! Be comfortable! Comfort is survival!" For 99% of human history, the stingy accountant was a genius. He kept us alive. But today, the accountant has become a liability. He doesn't realize that saving energy by sitting on a couch for 6 hours isn't helping you survive a winter. It's rotting your potential. The accountant still treats a difficult email like a saber-toothed tiger, trying to protect you from a predatory threat that doesn't exist. This creates a hellish circle. Because our modern environment is a dopamine-saturated paradise, the accountant is constantly being rewarded for doing nothing. The more you listen to the accountant, the more he demands you stay in the cave. This is where the aMCC, our grumpy drill sergeant, comes in. The sergeant is the only part of the brain capable of walking into the accountant's office, slamming his fist on the desk and saying, "I don't care about the cost. We are going anyway." Neuroscientists have discovered that the aMCC is the seat of volitional effort. It is the part of the brain that grows when we do things we don't want to do. When you choose the hard road, the sergeant gets bigger. He recruits more neurons. His voice gets louder. But here is the vicious cycle of the modern world. In our era of instant dopamine and heated seats, we have fired the sergeant. Because we almost never have to do things we hate, the aMCC physically atrophies. It becomes a mountain range of wet cardboard. When the sergeant is weak, the accountant takes total control. This creates a hellish loop. You avoid hard things because they feel impossible. And because you avoid them, the part of your brain that makes them feel possible continues to shrink. Before we look at the blueprints for rebuilding this structure, let's zoom out. We are currently living in year 12,025 of the human era. For those who came before us, this visceral friction was the mandatory tax of breathing. It wasn't a choice. If you didn't work, you died. Today, we are the first generation of modern pilgrims who must consciously choose to step back into the storm. So, how do we rebuild the sergeant? How do we turn wet cardboard into hydraulic concrete? You need a protocol of micro-suffering. Think of your willpower as steel rebar being lowered into a skyscraper. To set the concrete, you need pressure. Science shows that if you actually enjoy a task, your aMCC does not grow. If you love the gym, The gym is no longer building your willpower. It's just feeding your accountant a different kind of currency. To grow the sergeant, you must find the friction point. Spark moment 1. The rule of active resistance. The aMCC only scales when you are in a state of, I really don't want to do this. This is why high performers often seek out micro-suffering. Cold showers, fasting, or waking up at 4:30 a.m. They aren't doing it because they are masochists. They are doing it to keep the sergeant in peak physical condition. Spark moment 2. The 10% overload. In engineering, you never test a bridge at its breaking point first. You use a system stress test. To grow your brain, you don't need to quit your job, you just need to do the task for 5 minutes longer than you want to. When you force yourself to finish that extra page of the report, or take that 30-second cold shower, your neurons are undergoing a violent rip. This isn't metaphorical. Synaptic pathways are being forced to bridge gaps they would rather ignore. Spark moment 3. The third-person shift. When you feel that internal wall, the suck, stop identifying with it. Instead of saying, I am tired, say, my accountant is currently filing a complaint. By labeling the resistance as a biological data point, you create space for the sergeant to take the wheel. When you force yourself to do the thing you hate, something intense happens inside your skull. It isn't a gentle process, it's a chemical siege. Your brain starts dumping stress hormones like norepinephrine. Your neurons begin to fire in frantic, disorganized patterns as they look for an exit sign. But when you stay in the friction, the brain is forced to adapt. It begins to wrap your neurons in a fatty insulation called myelin. This is like taking a thin, flickering copper wire and replacing it with a high-speed fiber optic cable. If you stay in the comfort loop, your brain becomes a graveyard of plant bones. You become brittle. You become someone who can be broken by a slow Wi-Fi connection or a rude comment. But when you engage the aMCC, you are literally installing the steel. You are making your mind bulletproof. What is the end game? If you do this for a year, 5 years, a decade, you reach the zero state. The zero state is not a place where life is easy. It is a place where the distance between I should do this and I am doing this becomes zero. The friction evaporates. Not because the world became kinder, but because you became an atmospheric force. You transition from being a victim of your biology to being the architect of your biology. You realize that the stingy accountant was never the boss. He was just a consultant you forgot to stop listening to. Zoom out one last time. We are accelerating into an unknown future. We are surrounded by technologies designed to satisfy our every whim, to keep us in the cave, fed and entertained until we die. In this landscape, willpower is the only true currency. It is the only thing that cannot be automated, outsourced, or downloaded. We are a tiny speck on the timeline of human history. For billions of years, life was a struggle against the environment. Now, the struggle is internal. Every time you do what you hate, you are honoring the billions of years of evolution that gave you the capacity to choose your own path. You are the tip of a vast history of survivors. Don't let the accountant win. Go outside, embrace the friction, build the steel.